Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. I don't want to, but I have to, because he should have just joked his way out of his job. In fact, I would say that he's been doing that for the last several years now, but at an upfront, which is where you are selling your television programming to advertisers, he kind of dismantled entirely the reason to support Disney in any way. And that's not what you're supposed to do. But hey, let's talk about it. Here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, I am trying to get to 50K. Double check you're still subscribed. If not, click the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and hit the bell icon to make sure all notifications are turned on. So we're going to start here with our friend Marvin Montanaro's story over on That Park Place, which you can read for yourself over there. Let's jump in. Jimmy Kimmel jokes he cost Disney billions during Defiant Upfronts presentation. That is not a joke. It should get you fired. You aren't supposed to cost money to the affiliates or Disney or anybody in that line of, product sales. The advertisers are there to look at what program offerings you have where they can pitch their products. I would say it's going to be harder and harder to sell things on The View, and it's definitely difficult already on Jimmy Kimmel. They have very little audience and not enough in the demo, and that's a whole other conversation we'll get into. Anyway, back to the story. Jimmy Kimmel Live's presentation at the annual Disney Upfronts event was supposed to reassure advertisers, celebrate upcoming programming, and convince brands that the company remains a stable entertainment powerhouse. And like I just said a moment ago, I would say they don't do that. Instead, Kimmel took the stage and openly joked that he has cost Disney billions while mocking the event itself as bologna sausage. Different word there, but we cleaned it up. Right to the faces of the very advertisers that he was supposed to be reassuring, which is not good business. Now, during the Jimmy Kimmel Disney Upfronts presentation, the comedian, in quotes, which I agree, he's not a comedian, delivered yet another politically charged monologue packed with grievance humor aimed at President Trump, self-congratulatory defiance as though he were some kind of freedom fighter, and jokes about the damage he believes correctly he has caused Disney and ABC over the last year. And I don't think that's arguable. I think that is being direct and honest. Some of the very few times that this guy actually does that. And I have to tell you, I don't know that I would go out on a limb to tell people why you don't want to advertise on your program and why Disney should get rid of you, but you just gave them plenty of ammunition. And you know what? If you lose your job, a lot of people aren't going to care. In fact, I think Hollywood would feel like, well, he did it to himself, or they should. Now, he said, I have to admit I've been through so much bologna sausage this year. It actually made me appreciate this bologna sausage, Kimmel told the audience at New York's Javits Center. That line immediately set the tone. Rather than focus on Disney programming, advertiser relationships, or the company's future, Kimmel spent much of his time joking about controversy, political backlash, and his own role in turning ABC into a lightning rod. That's an understatement. It's more than a lightning rod at this point. In fact, I would say that Disney is just like religion and politics or any other thing you don't want to grab onto when you're talking about things in front of a big crowd. Jimmy Kimmel is the third rail when it comes to everything related to Disney. Between Jimmy Kimmel and The View, you have two powerhouses of destruction. And you don't want to grab onto either of those, and you certainly wouldn't want to advertise on those, at least in my opinion. If I had a company that I was advertising in television form, I certainly wouldn't engage either of those programs for my advertising. That would be foolhardy. But Kimmel admits he cost Disney billions. At one point, he openly referenced the financial fallout and reputational headaches surrounding his controversies, which he himself created through inventing lies and, direct falsehoods, not to mention the fact that he has really destroyed any value in late-night comedy. Again, my opinion, not necessarily everybody else's. But I cost our companies a lot of money this year, billions. Does that seem like something that you should be, joking about? I don't think so. He followed that up with another line that sounded less like comedy and more like accidental honesty to some viewers. And again, this was talked about live the other day between Marvin Montanaro and Jonas J. Campbell. It is very possible that no employee in the history of the company has cost their employer more. Hiring me 24 years ago, just from a purely mathematical standpoint, was the worst personnel decision that Disney Corporation has ever made. The audience inside the room laughed and applauded. I would not have. Although, again, this guy's supposed to be funny. What are they laughing at exactly? This clown suit? This guy that cries on command? This guy is a terrible, terrible actor in a field where you have to have some chops. He doesn't have any at all. Outside the Hollywood bubble, however, the comments reinforced a growing criticism surrounding Disney and its late-night strategery. That the company continues to embrace personalities also increasingly generate political backlash instead of broad audience appeal. That is an absolute no-no, which they're paying for not only in their theme parks, but in most of their films. Disney has destroyed everything over the course of the last decade, which was part of Iger's plan, I think, on his way out the door. He went from the ride of a lifetime to the destruction of a lifetime. In fact, he destroys Walt and all his legacy and everything that came between Walt and Iger. Everything in between has been destroyed to a fraction of the value across a wide band of IP and IP interests. That's insane. But the Upfronts became another Kimmel political monologue. Disney Upfronts exists for one primary reason, and that is advertisers. Now, networks spend millions producing these events because they want sponsors to feel confident investing money into their programming lineup. The presentations are designed to project optimism, stability, and mass market appeal, none of which does Jimmy Kimmel possess. In fact, I would not have brought him in here to do anything because he is not only not trustworthy, he's not appealing to the masses. Instead, Kimmel delivered a routine centered around politics, FCC scrutiny, corporate controversy, and President Trump, all of which is damaging to anybody's advertising, no matter what they're trying to sell. I mean, no electric car company would want to go near this. You don't want to draw attention to yourself in a negative light, and you're supposed to be appealing to a broad audience, which Jimmy Kimmel hasn't done for years. Look, this story goes on, and I would encourage you to read it. It's very well written by Marv. But my point in bringing this up is that there's more than enough reason not to support Jimmy Kimmel. There's more than enough reason not to, advertise on his programs. And there's more than enough reason for people to just take this show and shove it in a closet where it belongs. But hey, those are my thoughts. What are yours? I want to know, do you think that Jimmy Kimmel survives the next year of his contract, which is his final year, supposedly? Do you think that he somehow exits early and claims martyrdom, just like Colbert did or is doing in the next couple of days, or actually the next week, I think? And finally, do you think that Kimmel has become too much of a hot potato for anybody else to partner with him in the future? Your thoughts are as good as mine, so let me know what they are down in the comments section below. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, I'll see you. Just never watching Jimmy Kimmel again.